Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about some issues that I just resolved with my 4-valve swap that might be very interesting to you if you're doing this exact swap. So let's get into today's video. Alright, so first things first, I actually have the 4-valve swap right behind me, and the hood is open because I want to show you a specific wiring technique. And I don't know if that's what's to call it. I stumbled upon it, literally stumbled upon it, because I first had a 2003 Marauder engine in here, and the alternators from Ford starting in 2003 were now controlled by the ECU. And the way that happens is there's two wires that comes from the ECU that actually splices into one and runs to one terminal on the regulator, on the voltage regulator that sits in the alternator. And then there is, I believe, two terminals that actually run to the positive post of the alternator. And before I did this actual adjustment to my own alternator, I was getting somewhere from 12.5 volts, then you'd get 13 sometimes, and then it dropped back down to 11. So I wasn't getting proper charging, and everybody knows if you're not getting proper alternator current, which is anywhere from 14.2 to 14.9, you're not going to get the proper spark. Your injectors aren't going to pulse as good, and your vehicle is just not going to operate the way it's supposed to. So I'm going to show you that. And also I had to change my fuel pump, and I had to change the fuel socks in the tank because I was getting a pressure drop issue. And then I realized that I was running this car too low on fuel because I don't have a factory fuel gauge. So when I saw the percentage, because I have a percentage gauge that tells me how much percent of fuel is actually left in the tank, and that was reading inaccurate, making me run the car low on fuel. In reality, running any car low on fuel will actually drop the fuel pressure as well. But I'm first going to show you the alternator issue, and then there's not really much to show you with the fuel pump because I already closed that system up. But definitely, if you're using a 2003 alternator on a 4-valve swap, it's a completely different wiring setup, and I'm going to show you that right now. Alright, so just ignore these wires under the hood. This is the big power wire that goes back to the battery, and this is a wire that I have coming from the positive post on my alternator going to some relays. Now what you want to focus on is the connector that's actually on the alternator. It's a 3-prong connector, which means 3 wires are coming out of it. The 2 outer wires, which is they're going to be different colors for different years, but just take the 2 outer wires. This is for all 2004 and up alternators that are going to be on your 4-valve swap, and you want to splice those 2 wires together, the 2 outer wires, and then you're going to run 1 wire to the positive post on your alternator. And then that leaves the center wire that you're going to take the green and the yellow wire that you have coming from your ECU, and you're going to run it to that center wire on your alternator. And I can definitely verify that gives you 14.7, I believe, 14.9 volts consistently. No drops, no dips, no issues with that. Also, if you guys have been following this build, you definitely know I've been having some fuel pressure issues, and like I said, those issues were actually coming from the fuel pump needing to change, and also the fuel socks in the tank needing to clean and needing to change as well. Also, I was running the tank too low on fuel, and I believe that's what was causing most of my issues as well. So the car still isn't running 100%, but it's running 10 times better than it was. Definitely you can see that in the last video that I posted. I'll probably put a small clip of me drifting it here. So definitely you can see that it's running 100% better than it was before, but this 4-valve swap still is incomplete, and we have a lot to get done on it to actually make it perfect. So hopefully within the next month or two, I can I know I don't want to, but I'll have to pull this engine out again. I'm gonna swap the heads, swap the intake, put the 2003 Marauder setup back on it, and definitely after that we should be running a whole lot better, because we're actually running a 1994 4-valve motor, which is the first one, on a 2003 Mercury Marauder ECU. And that definitely is going to cause issues, because that ECU is not tuned for this intake manifold. It's not tuned for these heads. It's two different setups. It's not tuned for that length of a cold air intake, because that's a Jimmy rig intake in itself. It's just, even this fuel rail is much smaller than a 2003 Marauder fuel rail. So definitely I want to swap back over. These are B heads, and a lot of people say if you're running boost you should use these heads, but I actually just want to run my vehicle NA for a while, and then I'll be putting a turbo on it. So it doesn't matter to me which heads I use, because I have both. I have both because I threw a rod in my 2003 Mercury Marauder motor, and I ended up getting a 94, not knowing that the heads and intake and stuff were not they were not the same. So I'm going to be swapping back to the 2003 heads as soon as I can, and then putting the Marauder intake back on it, and that should give us all of our power gains that we've been missing because we're not using those. So I was thinking of doing it inside the car, but to me that's going to be just too much headache. I can probably attempt it because heads are not hard to swap inside the vehicle. I could probably strip it down and do it. It all depends on when I decide to do it or how I decide to do it, but definitely changing that fuel pump, cleaning up those fuel socks made this car run a whole lot better. But yeah, we just got to continue doing things that's going to make this run at 100%, and definitely swapping back on the heads and the intake that this ECU is looking for, because I still can't run the MAF because the MAF freaks out. It's not pulling the right amount of air, probably pulling less air than the 2003 setup, so it's making the fuel trims different and just making the car run weird entirely. So definitely we have to do a lot of things when it comes to working on this vehicle, but for now it's definitely running 10 times better than it was before. All right, so that's all I have for you guys for today. Definitely in the near future I want to start, this might sound stupid, but start throwing some money at this car and just seeing what we can get out of it in the NA form before I put my turbo back on it, because I did, before I took the motor out of my Marauder to put in this Mustang, it did have a GT 45 turbo. Definitely want to go back to the boosted version. It was a lot more fun. Definitely with a gearbox it's gonna be a lot more fun, but there's so many things that has to be done to this vehicle that I prefer to invest more money into my actual video production, which means I want to get more equipment to make better quality videos, and I also don't want to gear my YouTube channel around just dumping money into my cars, because it almost doesn't make any sense. You're gonna dump all the money that you make from the channel into the car that you're trying to create, and that's where you're gonna have an issue, because if that's supposed to be a source of income for you, you're just gonna end up spending your own money and then trying to make it back on YouTube, which is not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to spend the least amount of money and actually be able to make money from this. So definitely I want to get a desk, like a desk and chair setup, and set up in an area where I can do more like a studio video, where I can talk about the more popular swaps, the ways to do it, who has done it, and just give you guys advice, do my research on these things, and get into doing a better quality swap next time. So the next time you see me do a swap on any vehicle, is definitely going to be a much cleaner version of what I did here, because we can all agree this is a dirty swap. This is just an engine, a gearbox, a welded rear end, 14 gears, and a 4-valve swap, and that's it. So thank you guys for supporting this channel and making a lot of I don't know really how to explain it, but I've been hit up several times by a lot of different guys on Instagram asking for advice on this swap, and I really do appreciate that, because it shows that my videos are getting out there and that I'm getting some traction on this 4-valve swap. I want to do a much more popular swap, probably do an LS swap on a Mustang or something that is going to get even more views at the end of the day. But like I said, I don't want to be taking all of my money, dumping it into the car, and then trying to make it back on YouTube. I actually want to make money from YouTube and then dump it into the vehicle. But like I said, I appreciate you guys supporting me, and it took me almost a year to actually do this swap, and it was one of the most stressful things I've ever done, because unlike you guys, you have someone that actually done this swap and posted every video on YouTube. I have a playlist that has literally everything I've done to my 4-valve swap in it, and I did not have that when I was putting this together. And that's where that's where you guys benefit from the playlist itself, and you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. You can watch the playlist, you can buy your parts and move ahead knowing what's best instead of guessing. So thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.